Hello, everybody, and welcome here back up at the BSN podcast. This is another podcast here today. It is Thursday, April 7th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far today. It is opening day in baseball. Super exciting. Really pumped up. Really fired up. Yankees game, obviously, is tomorrow due to the rain and the weather that is going to be hitting the East Coast, specifically New York and the Bronx, obviously, they're over at Yankee Stadium. So their game got postponed. They will be playing tomorrow. But the Mets will be in D.C. today against the Nationals, 7 Eastern. I believe that game got pushed back to that time due to the weather and stuff. So they'll be against the Nationals tonight. So you get a little bit of a Mets-Nationals action opening day. And the Yankees will be tomorrow. But the fact is, it's opening day. I've already watched a little bit of the Cubs-Brewers game. I've seen a little bit of it. It's just great to watch baseball. It's great to see baseball on TV. You know, everything that we went through ranging from December all the way into February, it really felt that we were not going to get baseball, you know, even into March. It really felt that, you know, the possibility of losing 20 to 30 games was coming real. And just to have baseball, just to have a full 162-game season after everything that, you know, baseball went through, everything with the negotiations in the offseason, to finally have a season, to finally get out there and play today, April 7th, is great. America's pastime is back, and the 162-game sprint starts today. And for the Yankees, it starts tomorrow. For the Mets, it begins today in D.C. Tyler McGill will be in for Jacob deGrom starting today. deGrom will be tomorrow, and tomorrow it will be Cole on the mound in the Bronx for another opening day start for him. Last year, he had the opening day start at home. Cole's 2 years with the Yankees. First year was on the road in D.C. He pitched. Last season was at home against the Blue Jays. This year, it will be at home against the Red Sox. So, super excited. Really pumped up. We're also coming off a big night of sports last night. As you can see, I'm rocking the, you can't see really the number, but I got my Kevin Durant City Edition jersey on today. Something's in the water there in Madison Square Garden, or I should say something's in the locker room. Maybe Kyrie's burning sage in the locker room, or something is in that locker room. Something is in the air in Madison Square Garden. The second 20-plus point comeback that the Brooklyn Nets have made this season against the Knicks. As we all know, about a month or two ago, the Nets made the major comeback against the Knicks, and then last night, yet again, another, 28-point comeback against the Knicks. Just a wild game, a massive deficit. We were playing like complete garbage, and then we come out in the second half. We hold them to, 31 points, I think. We score like 60. We outscored them by a ton. We were playing great, good basketball, scoring, passing, and it was like a huge win last night for the Nets. We knock off the Knicks. Anytime you knock off the Knicks as a Net fan, it's always good. It's good. It's nice. We move on now, and now a big game coming up tomorrow night against the Cavs. A massive game tomorrow night. You win that game and you beat the Pacers on Sunday, you'll be hosting the play-in game with the chance to getting into the playoffs with the win. You lose, you still have a possibility of dropping all the way to the 10 seed, which isn't good. So get the win last night. Got to move on. Big game coming up tomorrow night against the Cavs. As for the rest of the NBA, Nets and Knicks, like I said, both have days off today. Like I said, Mets are on tonight in D.C. against the Nationals. And for hockey, we got the Rangers tonight, and the Islanders got the night off. They will be back in action tomorrow night as they head out to Carolina to play the Hurricanes. So their second day off in a row for the Islanders. They'll be back in action tomorrow night against the Hurricanes and the Rangers. Big game tonight at home against Pittsburgh at the Garden to play up against the Penguins, and a very big game tonight. You get the win. You move to 98 points. You'll be 6 points ahead of the Penguins. Really start to build some cushion to get that 2 spot in the Metropolitan Division. So, Rangers tonight, no Nets, no Knicks, Mets as well. So, Mets and Rangers tonight, Yankees on tomorrow, like I said. And, feels great to say a baseball team in New York is on tonight. Even though it's the Mets, it still feels great to say it because baseball's back, 162, let the games begin. All right, let's get to the topics for today. Going to be a quick podcast today. Going to start off and go talk about MLB power rankings. I'm going to give you my power rankings. I do it every year with all my sports, with all the sports leagues. I do it with the NBA. I do it with the NFL. I'm going to do it with the NHL. I'm going to do it here with the MLB. Right before the season, I give you my power rankings. At the end of the year, I'll pull them out. I'll look at them, criticize them. I don't always do it on the podcast, but I do look at them periodically throughout the year. I will admit I do it periodically throughout the year to see how right I am, how wrong I am. It was funny. I'm looking at the MLB. I was looking at when I did this, I do it on the same site, and I was looking at the NBA power rankings, and I'm like, oh boy, these things are wild. I got the Lakers in the top 10. I had all these teams, and I'm like, yeah, that's not how it went this year. So, it's funny to look back on it, but I'm gonna give you my power rankings. Like I said, it's not all 30. It's only top 10, and throughout the year, I'll give you some updates. I look at them. Sometimes I look at them, I'm like, wow, I nailed that. And sometimes I'm looking at it, I'm like, what was I thinking 3 months ago? So it's always funny, but I'm going to give you my power rankings, talk a little about the Yankees and Mets. Yes, for the second straight year in a row, both New York baseball teams made my top 10. Where do they land? Hang on and watch, and you'll find out. And then we'll get to the New York sports update. Like I said, Rangers tonight, Mets tonight, Islanders, Nets, Knicks, all have the night off. But we got some hockey and some baseball, and tomorrow night, 1:05 Eastern at Yankee Stadium. It's the greatest rivalry in all sports, Yankees, Red Sox, to kick off the season for each of the respective teams, and then that goes into the weekend. Tomorrow, Yankees on Yes, and then Saturday will be on Fox, and then Sunday we'll wrap up the first weekend in baseball with the Yankees, Red Sox on ESPN. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to the weekend. Really, really fired up. Super excited today. Got up today at a little bit of extra, excitement. Big Nets win last night. Baseball's back. It's great. And, with all that being said, this is BSN Podcast, and let's get right into it. So, like I said, today's opening day. I do it for all my leagues. I do it for basketball, hockey, and football, and I give you my power rankings. So, at the beginning of each year, I do it, and at the end of it, I occasionally pull it out and look at it. I occasionally look at it. I was just looking at my NBA power rankings, and let me just tell you, these things are out of this world, pretty crazy. They're not. I shouldn't say they're wild, but they are interesting. So I have, just to give you an update, like the Lakers, I have at number 7. They're obviously not there. Warriors, I had at number 10. Warriors are a top 3 team in the league. So it's definitely funny to see where each team lands in the end of it and all of it, and all that stuff. Last year, I actually did my power rankings, I believe, on paper because they're not on here. So maybe I'll, dig through and try to find that paper and see if I could compare what each team ended up at and stuff like that, because it's always funny to see. Either you look at it and you're like, wow, it's spot on, and you look at it or you're like, wow, this was not close at all. So I'm going to give you my top 10 teams. I don't do 30. It's too long. Going to give you 10. And look, like I said, I'm basing this off of 2 things. Off-season moves and a little bit of what happened last season. Because it's not like if the Orioles went out and signed Carlos Correa, it's not like, oh, Orioles are a top 10 team. I'm going to, spoiler alert, just because the Twins signed Carlos Correa, they're not a top 10 team. So it's a little bit of offseason. It's a little bit of a last year. And it's just obviously the roster as a whole. I kind of take many things into account. I also go off of last year too because, Braves made my top 10. I'm obviously going to put the Braves in there. There are some teams, though, that, maybe could be debated. But I do have some couple surprises in here, I think. I think some teams are high. Some teams, maybe would disagree. But that's the whole point of it all, to give you my opinion. So here are my top 10 teams. We're going to start at 10, go down the list, end up at number 1, and wrap things up for the day. So here we go. Coming at number 10, I have the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, I know a lot of people, some of you might shut off the video right now and go do something else, but look, you look at this Phillies team, I'm very high on the Phillies. I really am, and I've always have been. And even last year, I was very high on them. I've been high on them for the past couple years. Big reason because of Bryce Harper, but when you look at their roster, when you look at their lineup, they have a very lethal lineup when they're healthy and they're all playing up to their ability. You add the addition of Nick Castellanos is huge. You already add that to a combo of Alec Boehm, who, has had a little bit of a down year last year, but he's capable of playing at a much higher level. Bryce Harper is, the reigning NL MVP. We know what he's capable of. You have an outfield tandem of Castellanos and Harper. That in itself should make you really kind of optimistic about this team. You have a power hitting first baseman in Rhys Hoskins. And then you have, your infielder guy like a Gene Segura he was a little bit of your utility guy, can bounce around, hits for average, up in the 290s, low 300s. And you got a really balanced lineup. You got your power guy in Harper, you got your power guy in Castellanos, Hoskins, and then you get your contact from Segura, and Bohm can, get some, he can hit in some runs and he can do some damage as well. A very balanced Philadelphia Phillies lineup. And the off-season addition of Nick Castellanos, I think, was huge. And you look at their pitching rotation, and you look at guys like, Zach Wheeler. You hope that he can you hope that he can continue to do what he does. He's close to that ace level. He's definitely there, but maybe he can get to that next level and be the second best pitcher in his division, third best pitcher in the division. He's capable of being the third best pitcher in his division, only behind DeGrom and Scherzer. So there's definitely a good chance there. But there's a lot of optimism around this Phillies team. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, their bullpen and stuff, but you have Gibson at the bottom of that rotation rounding things out. A very balanced Philadelphia Phillies team. I like them a lot. This is a team that, maybe I'm sounding crazy, but if Harper has the year that he did last year, Castellanos does what he did last year. I mean, look, you're talking about an all-star. You're talking about Gene Segura, who's one of the better pure hitters in baseball. A very good team for the Phillies. They're in a tough division. They're in a division with the Braves and the Mets, who have very high expectations this year. World Series champion Braves. But I definitely think this team could do some damage. They're at number 10. Because if they don't stay healthy and their pitching doesn't, their bullpen is lackluster and their pitching doesn't live up to expectations, it could turn into last season. But if this team does what they need to do and stays healthy, could do some serious damage in the National League. Coming at number 10, Philadelphia Phillies. Another NL East team coming at number 9, I have the New York Mets. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, and this is going to be short, okay? I would have the Mets much higher if DeGrom was healthy. The reality is, Jacob DeGrom isn't healthy. He's injured. He might not be back until May. He might not be back until mid-May. Who knows? You just got to hope as a Met, if you're a Met fan, you just got to hope that it's nothing major that's going to sideline him, worst case, into June, okay? He's out for at least a month. The Mets are going to be off. The Mets have a lot of work to do in the first month and a half of the season because they're going to be without their ace. And you obviously have Scherzer, but you're going to need your other rotation to really pick up the slack. I mean, you're asking Tyler McGill to fill in the shoes of Jacob DeGrom on opening day. So it was a huge loss for the New York Mets, a huge loss for them in terms of, pitching and just overall just boosted that roster. I definitely think it was a blow for them. And don't get me wrong, they were a very good team. They were a very good team when it comes to, when it comes to their pitching rotation. Still very solid, and they made a lot of offseason acquisitions. But I do think the loss of Jacob DeGrom definitely hurts this team in terms of momentum and hurts this team a little bit and just overall in terms of talent. I mean, you lost Jacob DeGrom. He's going to be out a month and a half, and I wouldn't be surprised if this Met team gets off to a slower start than you would expect. Now, we all know they have Buck Showalter. He's the manager. Finally, the Mets have a legit guy in charge. Another Met team that can do serious damage. Health is the big issue. That's why I have him at 9. I just don't know if you can trust this team staying healthy. DeGrom hasn't stayed healthy at all. He's injured right now. Who knows what else is going to pop up? You just got to hope Lindor's better than last season. Definitely some question marks, and health is 2 big issues. But we know what they're capable of. I mean, when they're healthy, this team's got upward of 4 or 5 All-Stars on their team. And they've got a bullpen that can do damage if they live up to expectations. So another team that has serious potential. It's just a matter of will they max it out. We'll see. Stevie Cohen did his job. Now it's time to Buck Showalter and the rest of that coaching staff to lead this team and see what they can do. Number 9, New York Mets. Number 8, I have the New York Yankees. Now, this might be a little bit of bias. This might be a little bit of me putting the Yankees in front of the Mets. But I have the Yankees at 8. And the reason I have the Yankees at 8 is because it's a very 50-50 team this year. I'm going into this season with the mindset of there's a whole lot of things that can happen. Us as Yankee fans have to be ready for them. That's the reality. Is there a guarantee this team is going to be dominant? No. Is this team going to be terrible? I don't think they're going to be that bad. Could this team be very well in the middle? Yeah. Does this team have potential of winning 100 games? Yes, does this team have potential of winning 90 plus games and fighting for the division? Yeah, there is. Does it also have potential of finishing fourth in the division and barely getting and having to go on the road for a wild card game? Yeah. And is it really have a risk of missing out on the postseason? I don't know if I would say that, but it's a very 50-50 team. Now, I got to admit, I have grown optimism about this Yankees team. I have. I've grown a little bit more optimistic than I was 2 weeks ago. And maybe that's just my excitement for the season. And everybody prior to the season, opening day, the day before opening day and the couple days before opening day, everybody thinks their team's winning it all. Because, obviously, all the excitement. Everyone's like, oh, this guy did well and stuff. But, there was a couple guys that had really good springs for the New York Yankees. Donaldson did really well. Higgy did really well. And you just hope that if they can do that, it could really be something special. So, this is a Yankees team that's going to be one of two things. Could this be a team that easily could rise into the top 5? Yes. Could it be a team that completely drops out of the top 10? Yes. It's a wait-and-see game. It's a 50-50. You just hope that the pitching rotation stays healthy and that behind Garrett Cole, it's okay. Because outside of Garrett Cole, there's a whole lot of question marks in the starting rotation. And in the bullpen, same thing. Outside of Jonathan Loaisiga, who was a staple last year, and Clay Holmes, who was good, or Chapman wasn't great, Chad Green's good, but not in the closer role. Definitely some questions there. So there's a lot of questions. We'll get the answers. Hopefully Joey Gallo does better. Can Hicks stay healthy? There's so many questions when it comes to this roster. That's why I have him at 8. Because the talent's there. There's definitely some talent. But where do they perform? Do they come out and play? Do they exceed what happens? What's the deal? So that's why I have the Yankees at number 8. Could definitely fluctuate as the season goes. And they could see them as a hot, cold team. I could see them as a very streaky team. They could be a team that go on runs of winning 8 of their 10 and then go on runs of, going 2-8 in their next 10. That's the kind of team that I could see out of the Yankees. I definitely have grown a little bit more optimistic about this roster. Still have my doubts, though, about this team. And hopefully those doubts iron themselves out and we have a successful season. Number 7, I have the Tampa Bay Rays. Look, this is a roster that's not full of big names. But when you look at this roster, Yandy Diaz is a nice piece for them. You look at Randy Arozarena, he's a nice piece for them. Tyler Glasnow, who is coming off of, an injury and stuff, but, he has, injury, so it won't be, I don't even know if they'll be back this season, but those are guys. But one thing that I circle about this Rays team is the young talent they got. Tyler, you look at Tyler Glasnow will be good to go. I apologize. He is coming off an injury though, but you look at this pitching rotation, I think it's very underrated. You have guys like Shane Baz, Pete Fairbanks, and then Tyler Glasnow. And that's a core 3 of really, really good injuries. I apologize. Shane Baz and all those guys have really, really, all have very high talent, very high ceilings. We all know that Glasnow had the Tommy John and all that. But here's my one issue. Can this team stay healthy? Because Baz, Fairbanks, Glasnow, Chirinos, Anderson all have injuries. And Shane Baz is going to miss the start of the season. Tyler Glasnow as well. These guys have all injuries. So that's why I have this Rays team at 7. Because when they're healthy and when their pitching staff is fully good to go, they're a top 5 team in baseball, no doubt. But they're not healthy right now. And that's a concern. Now, you do still have Randy Arozarena. You still do have, Yandy Diaz. You did lose Willy Adames. This is a Tampa Bay Rays team that is a Tampa Bay Rays team that is a very odd team early in the year. Because do they have the talent? Yes, they do. But they're going to be missing a lot of that talent to start the season. So the question is, can they work themselves out of that hole? Can they keep their head above water while most of their pitching staff is out? Or do they sink early in the year and it's just a down year? So, yet again, like the first 3 teams I've named, Do they have potential? Yes. Are they injury prone? Yes. Are they healthy right now? No. So definitely questions around this Rays team. But it's the biggest thing for the Rays is can they get out of April and May alive? And I mean that in terms of staying healthy and just keeping their head above water and at least winning games. Because if they can't do that, their season's over. So Rays, another team to look out for in terms of could be top 5, could very well sink to the 20s. You got to watch out. Tampa Bay Rays, number 7. Number 6, I have the Boston Red Sox. Not much I have to say here. And the top 5, too. I mean, the top 5 is pretty self-explanatory. But number 6, I have the Red Sox. Okay, they went out and got Trevor Story. I mean, they have one of the best infields in baseball. You're going to have, first base is going to be Bobby Dahlbeck. Second base is going to be Story. Third base is going to be Devers. And short's going to be Bogarts. Evaldi's going to be on the mound. Vasquez is behind the plate. And your outfield's going to look something like Renfroe. Short will probably must be DH. Verdugo. I mean, they're very good. I mean, they're the best team. They're a dominant team. They are. Their bullpen and their pitching staff worries me, which is why I have them at 6. And I don't have them in front of a team like a White Sox or the Braves or a team like the Brewers. I have them at 6 because their pitching staff worries me. They lost Eduardo Rodriguez in the offseason. They don't have, Chris Sales, injured. Their bullpen's Outside of Evaldi, what is this team? What is this rotation outside of Evaldi? Definitely question marks when it comes down to that. And their bullpen, same thing. But no doubt, they have probably the best infield in baseball. I will say this, they have the best infield in baseball. One of the best lineups in baseball. Pitching and bullpen is my biggest concern. That's what's limiting me from putting the Red Sox into the top 5 and even into the top 3. If they had a better rotation, they're up there amongst the top of the league. Nobody's doubting the power in this lineup. It's the pitching, and it's the guys behind Evaldi. Because Evaldi's good, but is he legit? Can he legitimately put that team on his back and carry them? We'll see. Number 6, Boston Red Sox. Number 5, I got the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, a 3-headed monster pitching staff of Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns, and Freddie Peralta. All 3 guys have serious Cy Young potential. I mean, they have 3 guys that could win the Cy Young. Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff, and Corbin Burns. You can't ask for a rotation much better than that. And you might look at their lineup and you might say, oh, well, they lost to Viso Garcia. Great, okay. But you still look at their lineup. They still have Yelich. They got Willie Adames, obviously, last season at the trade deadline. Their lineup might not be as flashy and exciting as maybe you'd like. But when you look at their rotation, when you look at their pitching staff, it's something to really, really look out for. Yelich, they got McCutcheon in the offseason. Renfroe, is another guy. Hunter Renfroe, they have. I apologize. He came for the Red Sox. Renfroe's not even on the Red Sox anymore. Another guy on the Red Sox, too, JD Martinez, who I completely blew off. But looking at my notes here, I mixed it up. Renfroe's on the Brewers, JD Martinez. Obviously on the Red Sox, too, as well. But you look at the Brewers team, the team's still with Lorenzo Cain, Colton Wong, who had a good year last year. Good infield, good middle infield with Wong and Adames. So, not a bad roster. Is it a great hitting team? On paper, no. They still have Yelich and stuff. But in terms of pitching, dominant. You go to the bullpen, you have Josh Hader, the best closer in baseball. I mean, you can't get much better than that. In October, who's going to want to face a 3-headed monster of Woodruff, Corbin Burns, and Freddie Peralta? Not many teams. And if this team had a lineup of, let's say, the Red Sox, for example, the team behind them, or the teams ahead of them in the Braves, Blue Jays, Dodgers, White Sox, they didn't say it in order. Those are the 4 teams that are ahead of them. If they had a lineup like that, they would be the best team in baseball, no doubt. Because their pitching staff's that dominant. They've got a solid lineup. But their pitching staff and their bullpen, really what puts me over the edge when talking about this team and how good they can be. Number 5, Milwaukee Brewers. Number 4, the Chicago White Sox, right? Another team with good pitching. Now, you did lose Rodon in the offseason. They grab Yasmani Grandal. You have Tim Anderson. You have Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez. A very good roster all around. A very good hitting team. And they lost, Rodon obviously in the offseason, but they still have Giolito. They still have Lance Lynn. Still have Michael Kopech. They still have a lot of really good guys in that roster. They did obviously lose Craig Kimbrell. He's with the Dodgers now. Got traded there. So they did lose some pieces, but they also gained some, and they also kept some. So where I put this White Sox team last year is kind of where I'm putting them again this year. Solid bullpen. They did lose Crotchet. He's got a Tommy John. But where I put this team last year in terms of amongst some of the best, I had him at like 6 or 5 or 4 last year. I had him somewhere there. Same thing this year. They got similar lineup. They lost a couple pieces, but similar team overall. A good team, a very solid team. We know what they're capable of. You get Eloy Jimenez for a full season. Another team yet again to look out for. Chicago White Sox, number 4. Number 3, I have the Atlanta Braves. And I would put the Braves at number 2 if Acuna wasn't hurt to start the year. And I know he's not going to be hurt for long, but he's going to be hurt for about the first month. So I think it could be a little bit of a slow start without him in the lineup. But you still look at a lineup of Jorge Soler, Marcell Ozuna. You still have a lineup with those guys. You obviously lost Freddie Freeman, but you still have Ozzy Albies and you gained Matt Olson. You got Max Fried you're pitching. You got a good bullpen. Will Smith and stuff like that. So solid bullpen. Definitely could be a little bit improved, but decent, solid. You look at your lineup. You have power all the way up and down the lineup. Sure, you lost Freddie Freeman, which is a big loss, but you get Matt Olson, who's very good. So you don't really, it's not like you have a gaping hole now at first base. You fill with Matt Olson. And the Braves are similar to the Braves, outside of losing Freeman, which was a big loss, don't get me wrong. Very similar team, like the White Sox, with similar expectations and similar roster yet again another year. And the expectation is they got to go out and win like they did last season. Number 2, I have the Toronto Blue Jays. I think this is the second best team in baseball. I think this Blue Jays team, if I had to make a World Series prediction, Blue Jays would be my World Series team. Right now, they would be. None of these other teams on the list. Now, Dodgers would be 2. I have them at number 1. Spoiler alert, I have the Dodgers at 1. But, the Blue Jays, I'll start with this. They get Jordan Romano back. Their bullpen's very good. You go to their starting rotation. Jose Barrios, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Alek Manoah. You got Kikuchi, who could be bullpen and kind of a deep rotation guy. Kevin Gausman. I've already, I think, said Manoah. You have a trio of Gausman, Barrios, Manoah, and Hyun-Jin Ryu. It doesn't get much better than that. You have a very good bullpen. You look at their lineup. And what I love so much about the way the Blue Jays have built their team is it's all for young talent and farm talent, also going out and spending money. Getting Matt Chapman, getting George Springer. But you also have guys like Bichette and Vlad and Manoah who have come up through the system and who have come up through the system and been dominant. You look at a lineup, Gurriel, you have Lourdes Gurriel, Chapman, Vlad, Bichette, Springer. And you go to your pitching with Barrios, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Alek Manoah, Kevin Gausman. There's so much talent with the Toronto Blue Jays. A lot of talent. Teoscar Hernandez. You have an outfield of Gurriel, Teoscar Hernandez, and George Springer. If that doesn't get you excited as a Blue Jay fan, I don't know what will. Just a dominant team, both pitching and hitting. Blue Jays, without a doubt, my number 2 team. And at number 1, I have the Dodgers. And look, I don't know what else to say. Dodgers are a dominant force. They get Freddie Freeman. They have a rotation that includes Buehler, Julio, Urias, Kershaw. A dominant force. Betts, Pollock, Justin Turner, Seager, Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Freddie Freeman, and you have a rotation with Julio Urias, Buehler, and Kershaw. So dominant force at number 1. So once again, my top 10 is number 10, the Phillies, number 9, Mets, number 8, Yankees, number 7, Rays, number 6, Red Sox, number 5, Brewers, number 4, White Sox, number 3, Braves, number 2, Blue Jays, and rounding out the top 10 at number 1, the Los Angeles Dodgers. All right, coming up next, we're going to get to the New York Sports Update and wrap up the podcast. All right, so welcome you back here up at the podcast. Let's wrap things up here today on this opening day. As for the NBA tonight, we'll start off with that. We got the Hornets, Magic, 76ers, Raptors, Bucks, Celtics, Timberwolves, Spurs, Pelicans, Trailblazers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Warriors, Lakers. And as for the NHL, we got the Devils, Canadians, Flyers, Blue Jackets, Senators, Predators, Sabres, Hurricanes, Blackhawks, Kraken, Stars, Maple Leafs, Canucks, Coyotes, Flames, Sharks, and Oilers, Kings. Rangers play tonight. Rangers come into this game 45-20-6. Penguins come into this game 41-20-10. Over-under set at 6. This game's on tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus and MSG. 54% of people think the Penguins will win. I'll take the Rangers. As for baseball, we got the Royals Guardians. That will be Shane Bieber versus Zach Greinke, 4:10 Eastern. Cardinals Pirates, JT Brubaker, Adam Wainwright, 4:15 p.m. By the way, Royals Guardians, Bobby Witt makes his debut. I have him in my one fantasy league. Braves Reds, Trevor Mahill and Max Fried. That's 8 to 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Astros Angels, 9:38 p.m. Eastern. Freddie Valdez and Shohei Ohtani. And Padres Diamondbacks, Yu Darvish, Madison Bumgarner, 9:40 p.m. Eastern. Mets Nationals today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern on Mason and SNY. Mets got Tyler McGill. Washington's got Patrick Corbin, over under set at 9. I gotta go with the Nationals. I can't pick the Mets on opening day. Can't do that. And as for fantasy, by the way, I'm in another fantasy baseball league. So I'm actually in another one. I did the draft last night. It was kind of a last-second league, and I'm in it. So it's an 8-person league. My team is JT Realmuto, Yuli Gurriel, DJ LeMahieu, Alex Bregman, Bo Bichette, Whit Merrifield, Jared Walsh, Juan Soto, George Springer, Teoscar Hernandez, Charlie Blackmon, Tyler O'Neill, Bobby Witt. Benches, Torres, Scope, Avisail Garcia. My pitchers are Walker Buehler, Jose Barrios, Joe Musgrove, Logan Webb, Carlos Rodon, Trevor Rogers, Kenley Jansen, Michael Kopech, and Adam Wainwright, and John Gray. And in that league today, I got Yuli Gurriel, Alex Bregman, Whit Merrifield, Jared Walsh, Juan Soto, Tyler O'Neill, and Bobby Witt going. And Adam Wainwright as well, he is starting. Right now I'm losing 12-0 because my opponent is Kyle Hendricks, who right now has 7 strikeouts. And in my other fantasy baseball league, I'm currently losing 0-2. I have Willie Adames, and he's 0-3 with 2 strikeouts. So not doing much for me there. My lineup today is Yuli Gurriel, Jonathan India, Alex Bregman, Jared Walsh, and a no pitcher starting today. An injury update in this league is Yoan Moncada got placed on the 10-day IL. So White Sox general manager Rick Hahn said Thursday that Moncada has been diagnosed with a grade 1 oblique strain that is expected to keep him sidelined for three weeks. James Fegan of The Athletic reports. So first injury there, got to put him on the IL. And Taijuan Walker's day-to-day. Taijuan Walker left to start Tuesday against the Nationals after 11 innings after 1 1/3 innings due to sore right knee. Anthony Tacoma of MLB.com reports. Hopefully nothing major there for him. And so that's what I got there. Hoping for a successful season in fantasy baseball, and hoping that this year I get the championship. Last season I finished in second. Hoping this year I finish in first for both leagues. And I forgot fantasy basketball. I got to get to that as well. Fantasy basketball. John Morant, Brandon Ingram, Miles Bridges, Nikola Jokic, Kelly Oubre, Tyrese Maxey, Desmond Bane, Aaron Gordon. I added Aaron Gordon and dropped John Collins. John Collins, there's no injuries, updates on him. It doesn't look like he's going to play the final 2 games. So I dropped him and added Aaron Gordon. Right now I'm losing 1,908 to 1,870. Injury updates. Morant's still out. Brandon Ingram's day-to-day. Considered doubtful for Thursday's game with tightness in his hamstring. So dealing with a lot of injuries right now. A lot. So I'm hopeful that some of these guys get healthy because there's only a couple days left. Sunday's it. So got to get healthy in order to win this championship. So that will do it for today. I'll try my best to get a pod done tomorrow. I'm not going to pre-record one tonight because obviously I'm going to be watching the Rangers game. So I won't be pre-recording one tonight. I'll try my best to get one done tomorrow. If I'll see. If it is, it's not going to be on, if it is, it's going to be after the Yankees game. So, it wouldn't really be a Yankees preview or anything. It would be after the Yankees game. So, I'll give you my Yankees preview now, actually. So, I don't really have to go into too much depth, but it's going to be Eovaldi versus Cole. 105 Eastern, Yes Network at Yankee Stadium. 7.5 point favorites. 7.5 is the over-under. I'll take the Yanks on opening day. So that's kind of your little preview there. Can't guarantee I'll do a pod. Just because of my schedule. And with the Yankees being on. If I will, it's going to be after the Yankees game. So I wouldn't expect like a preview or anything about the game. That's kind of my short little preview. So try to get a pod done tomorrow. But if I do, I'll definitely post that. And as always, enjoy the rest of opening day. Enjoy it. And as always, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.